Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful floralless crochet cover-up dress. It's a beach dress and it can be perfect for a bikini cover-up, and it has some shaping. As you can see here, we have the waistline and then we have the increases. This is a modification of our previous floralless crochet tank top, and I did some shaping to it in order to turn it into a dress. So this is to floor length, and I did a total of 55 inches in order to have a full length for my dress. This can vary depending on the height of the person that you're making this dress for. And for the longest time, so many people have been asking me for a cover-up that doesn't have an open back. This is one of them, and there are many more designs to come like this. So if you end up liking this tutorial, don't forget to hit the like button at the end of this video. And there's also a written pattern of this beautiful dress on all my online shops, as well as the tank top. So yeah, if you hear me saying top in this video, that's because we first worked on the top and then modified it in order to get this lovely maxi dress. This can be made to any length. It can be a mini version, a midi version, or a maxi version. Mine is a maxi, and yeah, decide for yourself what you want to make out of this design. The yarn that I used for this dress is Performance yarn, 100% cotton 8, and this yarn is a light fingering weight yarn, and I used approximately 5 balls. Each ball is 50 grams and 175 meters. So the color number is 1040. In case you want to get a hold of this same exact yarn for your project. It has different shades. You can make this dress in any color of your choice, but for me, this beautiful yellow shade just did justice to my design. And then you will also need a 3mm crochet hook. Here is mine. I'm using this 3mm. And then you will also need a pair of scissors. You will need a measuring tape. The measurements that we are considering for this design are bust circumference, hip circumference, and then the full length or height of your dress, all the way from the top of your shoulder down to where you want your dress to stop. So this is the measuring tape that we are going to use. And then you will also need some stitch markers. I will use 2 stitch markers for this design. And you will also need a darning needle to weave in your ends. That's basically it for the materials. And let's jump right into the video. I'll be starting from scratch for this video, just in case someone didn't catch the tank top tutorial. And yeah, let's get started. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. I can't wait to see the recreations of this design in different colors. All right, so you're going to get your 3mm crochet hook, and you're going to start off with a slip knot. This is going to be the very first panel. You're going to start with a slip knot, and you're going to make a chain of 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And for row 1, you're going to go into the very first chain with a treble crochet. So for a treble, you're going to yarn over twice, and you're going to go into the very first chain of the chain 10, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So this is what your row 1 will look like. Let's go on to row 2. For row 2, you're going to start off with a chain of 8, which counts as a treble crochet, chain 4. Turn your work into this chain space. You're going to place 1 single crochet, and then you're going to make a chain of 4, and then treble crochet into the same exact space. So yarn over twice and go into the space with a treble crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So this is what your row 2 will look like. Row 3, you're going to make a chain of 1, turn your work, into the very first stitch, you're going to go in there with a single crochet, and then make a chain of 3. Then we're going to create a V-stitch into the next single crochet, and for a V-stitch for this pattern, it's 1 treble, chain 5, another treble. So prepare for a treble crochet, go into the single crochet stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, chain 5, and then another treble. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the same single crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. So we've just placed a V-stitch into the single crochet, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and go into the last chain 8 space with a single crochet, and that marks the end of row 3. This is what your work will look like. Row 4, we're going to make a chain of 10, turn your work, treble crochet into the very first single crochet, that very single crochet that is attached to the chain 10. So yarn over twice and treble crochet into the single crochet, chain 3, and single crochet into the chain 5 space, the V-stitch. So into the chain 5 space, you're going to place a single crochet, chain 3, and treble crochet, V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous row. So skip over all this, and the last single crochet is here. You're going to place a V-stitch, and as I had mentioned earlier on, a V-stitch is 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact stitch. So this is what your row 4 will look like. We're going on to row 5. You're going to start off with a chain of 8, turn your work into the very first chain 5 space. You're going to place 1 single crochet, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So a V-stitch is 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same stitch. So this is what you'll have. We've placed a V-stitch into this single crochet here, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into this last chain 10 space, and then you're going to make a chain of 4 and treble crochet into the same chain 10 space. And just like that, we are through with row 5. This is what your work will look like. Row 6. Row 6, you're going to start with a chain of 1, turn your work into that very stitch. You're going to place a single crochet, and then make a chain of 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, which is this one. So 1 treble, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact single crochet, and then you're going to make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next chain 5 space, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, and by now you know how to V-stitch, chain 5 and another treble into the same single crochet, just like that. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet in the last chain 8 space. So this is what you're going to have for row 6. Now we're going on to row 7, and for row 7, let me see. Yes, row 7, you're going to start off with a chain of 10 and turn your work into the very first single crochet that's attached to the chain 10. You're going to place a treble crochet there, and then make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet into the same exact single crochet stitch, and then make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous row. So 1 treble crochet, chain 5, and another treble crochet. So that's a V-stitch at the end. So you can see how our triangular shape is being formed. This is the end of row 7. Now we're going to start doing our repeat rows. Pay attention, because from now on, these are the rows that we're going to keep repeating. So for row 8, which is our first repeat row, you're going to make a chain of 8 and turn your work into the very first chain 5 space. You're going to place a single crochet, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, 1 2 3 4 5, and another treble crochet into the same single crochet. So that's our V-stitch, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the last chain 10 space, and then make a chain of 4 and treble crochet into the same exact space. So that marks the end of row 8. This is what your work should look like. Now we're going on to row 9, which is our second repeat row. For row 9, you're going to start off with a chain of 1 and turn your work, single crochet into that very stitch, the very first stitch, and you're going to make a chain of 3 and V-stitch into the next single crochet, okay, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So you can see how it gets easier when it comes to the middle of the rows. You just keep placing a V-stitch in each single crochet and a single crochet in each V-stitch from the previous row. So making sure that you always separate with a chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch of the previous row, and then make a chain of 3 and V-stitch into the next single crochet of the previous row. So you can see how easy that is. The only difference is when it comes to the beginning and the end of the row, that's where the changes are made. But for the middle part, we just maintain the pattern. So after the V-stitch in the last single crochet of the previous row, you're going to make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the last chain 8 space. So this marks the end of row 9. This is what your work should look like. Now we're going on to row 10. you're going to make a chain of 10 and turn your work into the very first stitch that's attached to the chain 10. You're going to place a treble crochet just like that, and then start your repeat. Chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So I hope the pattern is getting easier. Okay, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch of the previous row, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet of the previous row. Chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, and V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous row. So this marks the end of row 10. And now we're going to keep repeating rows 8 to 10, 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, again and again until the base of our triangle measures quarter of our bust circumference, and you should end on a row that looks like row 9, the one that starts and ends with a single crochet. So that's the row that you're supposed to end with. Just keep repeating rows 8, 9, 10, but make sure you end on a row that starts and ends with a single crochet. So that row should look like row 9. So I'm going to go ahead and keep repeating my rows 8 to 10 again and again. So chain 8, single crochet here into the first chain 5 space, so I'll have timestamps so that you can follow along easily. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 12 rows, and this gave me quarter of my bust circumference. If you want a loose fitting, then you're going to consider this measurement without stretching. If you want a tight fitting, then you're going to consider this measurement with a slight stretch. So for me, I have about 8 inches, but when slightly stretched, it can get to 9 inches. So this should be able to work from a measurement of about 32 inches to 36 inches. I've ended with a row that starts and ends with a single crochet. So from here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. And this is what you're going to have. This is what your work will look like. Now, once you figure out the very first panel, you're going to go ahead and make a total of 4 more panels, 3 more panels to make a total of 4. So 3 more panels for the front and back to make a total of 4 panels. So for me, my 4th is here. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when it comes to the end of the 4th panel, don't cut your yarn. Just leave it attached to the yarn ball. And let's first put this away, the 4th panel, and you're going to place your panels like this, all with the tail facing one direction, like that. And then we have our 3rd panel here. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch. I'm going to go into the last stitch here and then slip stitch into the single crochet of the next panel, and then make a chain of 1. and that way we have attached 2 panels. And then you're going to do the same exact thing for your next 2 panels. So the second and the third, attach, like a chain of 1, and then chain 1, pull through. So right now we've attached, let me try to zoom out. We've attached 3 panels, and now we're going to go ahead and attach the 4th. So you see this? The tail is here, and then the yarn is still attached on this side. So go ahead and attach with this tail that you left behind. Go into the single crochet stitch of this last panel and attach it. Okay, so now we have 4 panels that are attached. Now you're going to fold it over like this, and you're going to attach. Now we are attaching into a round, so we're going to go into the single crochet here with a slip stitch. So that way we have created a round, as you can see. Okay, let me try to, okay, so this is our round, and we're going to keep working around and around, creating the length that we want for our piece. So if we get our measuring tape right now, we just want to make sure that this is going to fit. And when we take a measurement across, we have about 16.5 inches without stretching, but when slightly stretched, it can get to 18 inches. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start working in rounds to create the length of our piece. All right, now we're going to start working in rounds, and you're going to make use of a stitch marker. This is going to help us mark the beginning and the end of our rounds. So for round 1, now that we've created a slip stitch here, you're going to make a chain of 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Actually, I think I should have the same line in the middle, back of my piece. So I'm going to arrange my work like this. So after your chain of 10, you're going to turn your work around so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous row. Prepare for a treble crochet, and you're going to go into this single crochet here on the next panel, and you're going to place a treble crochet there. Then you're going to make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next treble crochet, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So that's a treble, chain 5, and another treble into the same exact single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So you can see how the pattern resembles exactly what we've been doing before. The only difference here is now we are working across all panels. And I'm placing my work like this so that I don't flip over any panel. Chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. Chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, and now we've reached this point where the 2 panels join. So you're going to make a chain of 3, and we're going to go to that point where the 2 panels meet, and we're going to place a treble crochet in this last single crochet of this panel. chain 5, and a treble crochet in the last single crochet of the next panel. So that way we have created a V-stitch, just like we did at this point. So that's what you're going to do all the way around. Now that you know what to do when it comes to the points where the two panels meet, you're just going to continue to make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. And by now you know what a single crochet is and a V-stitch for this pattern. So you're going to be very careful when it comes to round 1 of the pattern, but after that you can lift up your work and work your project comfortably. So we've reached the joining of the two panels, the next two panels. So we're going to just do the same exact thing, a treble crochet on one side and then chain 5 and a treble on the other side. And that way we've created a V-stitch in the middle of the two panels. So go ahead and finish up round 1 and I'll meet you back towards the end and show you how to wind up. Alright, so we've come to the end of the round and I've placed a single crochet in the last V-stitch. And then I'm going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the 5th chain, counting from the base of the chain 10. So into the 5th chain I'm going to place a slip stitch. So that's how we wind up our round. And now we're going to go on to round 2. This is going to be much easier because we've already created the structure for the piece. Now we don't have any pieces that can flip over after this round. So we're going to go on to round 2, and for round 2 you're going to slip stitch 2 times into the V-stitch. You're going to make a chain of 1 and single crochet into the same space, and then make a chain of 3 and turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. And then you're going to treble crochet, chain 5, treble crochet into the next single crochet, which is a V-stitch. So V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, and then chain 3 and single crochet into the next V-stitch. You're going to repeat that all the way around until you come back to the beginning of the round. So you can place a stitch marker into this very first single crochet that you made before turning your work. This will be the beginning of the round. It's very easy to miss this point because the pattern can get a little bit confusing. So mark this and go all the way around repeating your pattern until you come towards the end of the round, and I'll show you how to wind up. Alright, so I've come to the end of round 2 and I've just placed a V-stitch into the last single crochet of the previous round. Now I'm going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into this single crochet. So you're going to remove your stitch marker and make a slip stitch there. And that marks the end of round 2. Round 3 is going to be quite different. You're going to start off with a chain of 10. Turn your work, and into the same exact spot you're going to place a treble crochet, and that will create our very first V-stitch of the round. And then you're going to mark the beginning of the round with a stitch marker and just place it into the chain 10 space, and then continue with your pattern, chain 3 and single crochet into the next chain 5 space or the next V-stitch of the previous round. So chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet of the previous round. Chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch of the previous round. So you're going to just go ahead and keep alternating between V-stitch and single crochet and making sure you separate everything with a chain 3 space until you come back to the beginning of the round, and I'll show you how to wind up. Alright, so we've come to the end of round 3 and I've just placed a single crochet in the last V-stitch of the previous round, and you're going to make a chain of 3, slip stitch into the 5th chain, counting from the base of the chain 10, 1 2 3 4 5, and into the 5th you're going to just make a slip stitch. So from now on you're just going to repeat rounds 2 and 3. I'll be leaving timestamps and you can see how our piece is taking shape. This is what we have. Alright guys, we're going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 until we get to our waistline. And for me, I did a total of 10 rounds and that gave me a total of about 6.5 inches, as you can see, from the base of the V-neck of our piece all the way down to the waistline. That I'm considering a total of around 6.5 inches, but this is going to vary depending on your height and your body type. Now we're going to go ahead and create some increases in order to make this piece fitted for a dress. So you're going to get 2 stitch markers. I have mine here, and we are going to mark the side V-stitches of our project. You're going to just place your work flat and mark 2 side V-stitches, whether you decide to put them either towards the front or towards the back. We just need 2 V-stitches on the side of our piece. So let me place one here and one here. I've decided to consider the V-stitches towards the back of my piece, and this will be the front. So I'm going to mark this part, the deep part of the V-neck, with a stitch marker just to remind me that this is the front side of my piece. So we're going to go ahead and start creating increases at these points in order to create coverage for the hips. Now you're going to get your measuring tape and measure what you have right now. Well, slightly stretched. Actually, I'm at around 19 inches, 18 to 19. Alright, so since we have a total of around 18 inches, I don't want to overstretch this pattern. Make sure you don't consider it overstretched, because as you can see, it looks beautiful when it's dropped, not when it's stretched out. When it's stretched out, you're kind of distorting the floraless pattern. So I'm going to consider around 17 inches, and what I want after my increases is half of the hip circumference, and the hip circumference that I am considering is 44 inches. So I'm going to increase until I have a total of 22 inches at the base of my piece. So this will be, I've ended with a round that looks like round 2. So the next one will look like round 3, but this time we shall create increases at the points which we have marked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Turn your work. Treble crochet into the same exact spot. To create the first V-stitch, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So this all remains the same until we get to the V-stitch with the stitch marker, where we shall create our increases. Chain 3, single crochet in the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch. Repeat that until you get to your first stitch marker of the round. All right. So we've reached the V-stitch with the stitch marker. You're going to remove it, and then you're going to make a chain of 3, and into this spot where you would have just placed a single crochet, you're going to place 1 single crochet, chain 3, 1 treble crochet into the same exact space, chain 5, another treble crochet into the same space, and then chain 3 and single crochet into the same exact space. So we've created an increase here, and you'll see how it will work out eventually, but this is what it will look like. And then you're going to continue with your pattern, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch. So this is what we have right now, and this is our very first round of increase. This is what it has kind of created, a bulge. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet. So the pattern goes back to what we know until we get to the V-stitch with the next stitch marker, where we shall create an increase just like we've done at this point. Alright, so we've reached the second V-stitch with the stitch marker, or our increase point, and we're going to make a chain of 3 and do the same exact thing that we did on this side. So after your chain of 3, into the stitch that had the stitch marker, you're going to place a single crochet, chain 3, treble crochet into the same exact space, chain 5, treble crochet into the same space, chain 3, and single crochet into the same space. And you can see what this looks like. And then I don't think we need to place the stitch marker again. Maybe just place it into the V-stitch or in the chain 5 space. Let me also place this one back. And then you're going to be able to finish up your round as usual. Chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch. So you're going to repeat that until you get to the end of the round, which is at this point. Alright, so we've come to the end of the round, and I'm ending with a single crochet into the last V-stitch of the previous round. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the 5th chain, counting from the base of the chain 10 at the beginning of the round. Make a slip stitch there. And that marks the end of round 1 of increases. So for round 2, we are not going to increase at all. Round 2 is going to resemble round 2 of the non-increase round. So you make 2 slip stitches into the next V-stitch, make a chain of 1, 1 single crochet into the same space, and then make a chain of 3 and turn your work and work as usual. After your chain of 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch. So we're going to just repeat this all the way around. And when it comes to the increase points, I'll let you know, I'll actually show you what it will end up looking like. Alright, so we've reached the increase point, which is here. You're going to just make a chain of 3, and the next is a single crochet. So you're going to place your V-stitch in there. 1 treble, chain 5, and another treble crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 3 and into the chain 5 space with a stitch marker, because this is literally a V-stitch at this point. So after your chain of 3 here, you're going to place a single crochet into that V-stitch and then mark that single crochet, because that's where we shall place the next V-stitch that will receive an increase. So after this single crochet, you're going to make a chain of 3 and V-stitch into the next single crochet. So you should notice that there are so many stitches at this point. It's because you're placing V-stitches and single crochets where they're supposed to go. And this is what everything is going to look like at this point. This is round 2 after starting the increases. So this is what it looks like. And then you're going to continue to work your pattern as usual until you get to your next increase point, where you will do the same exact thing that you've done here, and then finish up your round the same exact way that you did the round 2 of the non-increase rounds. So I'll be back to show you what everything looks like once I am through with this round. This is exactly what's going to take place at this point. So if you need to rewind your video and see how we worked this area, when you get to this point, please do, and get past this point and work your pattern as usual until the end of the round, where I'll meet you and show you what to do next. All right, so we've come to the end of the round, the second round of increase, and I've chained a chain of 3, and I'm slip stitching into the first single crochet of the round. So that marks the end of round 2 of increase. Remember, our stitch markers are now placed in single crochet stitches. So let's go on to round 3 of increase. You're going to start with a chain of 10. Turn your work. And you're going to place a treble crochet into that same exact spot where the chain 10 is coming from in the single crochet stitch. So this one kind of just starts the same as round 3 of the non-increase rounds. So chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, and V-stitch into the next single crochet. You're going to repeat this until you get to your first stitch marker, or the first increase point of your round, where you have the stitch marker. So round 3 is also not going to have any increases. We're just saying round 3 of the increase rounds because it falls in the bracket where the increases are being placed. But round 3 is basically just going all the way around. So single crochet into the next V-stitch, and then our stitch marker is here in the next single crochet, which is supposed to receive a V-stitch. So you're going to remove it and then make a chain of 3, and in that single crochet where we have the stitch marker, you're going to place your V-stitch as usual. Treble crochet, chain 5, and treble crochet into the same exact stitch, and then you're going to mark that V-stitch because it will be the increase point of your next round. And then you're going to make a chain of 3, single crochet into the next V-stitch, chain 3, V-stitch into the next single crochet, and you're going to repeat that until you get to your next stitch marker, where you will do the same exact thing that you've done here, and then wind up your round, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So when you get to this point, remember the stitch marker is in a single crochet stitch. You will do the same exact thing that we've done here. You just place a V-stitch in that single crochet stitch and go all the way to the end of the round. And then we shall also take a measurement to see how far we've grown, and then repeat our increases until we get our desired length, which should be half of our hip circumference. That's our aim. So since the hip circumference that I am considering is 44, my goal is to get 22 inches at the base of my piece before I stop the increases. So finish up round 3 of the increasing section, and then I'll meet you back at the end of the round and we see what to do for round 4. Alright guys, we are through with round 3 of the increase rounds, and this is what we have. You can see our work kind of spreading out, and we're going to take a measurement at the base of our piece right now. Remember, I want a total of 22, but I am currently on around 19 to 20. So I think I'm going to do one more increase and I see how far I'll go. But if at this point you have achieved half of your hip circumference without stretching so much, then you're going to stop increasing. You're going to go onto the non-increase rounds and then lengthen your dress. For me, not yet. I'm still at 20 and I want a total of 22 inches. So for those people who haven't yet achieved their desired length at the base of your piece, then you're going to repeat rounds 1 to 3, the increase rounds, rounds 1 to 3, again and again, until you get half of your hip circumference at the base of your piece. So let me go ahead and repeat round 1 to 3 one more time, and then we shall see what measurement that I'll end up with, and then I'll be back to show you how to pick it up from there. So remember, if once you achieve the base of your piece to be half of your hip circumference, sorry for the sun, I'm getting so many shadows at the base of my piece, but I hope I'm explaining everything perfectly well. So once you get your desired length at the base, you're just going to keep repeating rounds 2 and 3 of the non-increase rounds all the way down. So let me go ahead and do my 3 increase rounds one more time. So that means I'll have a total of 6 rounds of the increase section of my dress. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to slip stitch, single crochet, chain 3, turn, and this is going to resemble round 1 of the increases. So go ahead and do what you have to do in order to get half of your hip circumference at the base of your piece. And then I'll be back to show you what mine will look like. Alright guys, after repeating rounds 1 to 3 of our increase rounds one more time, I now have a total of 6 rounds since I started increasing. And now I'm at 22 inches. You can see I'm barely stretching my work. This is how you're supposed to consider your measurement. Otherwise, the pattern is going to appear stretched out like this, which we don't want. So consider this measurement when slightly stretched. You can see without stretching at all, I'm at 20, but when slightly stretched, I'm at 22, which is half of the hip circumference that I am considering for my piece. Now, once you're done with that, you can remove the stitch markers. Mine are already out. And you're going to now make the non-increase rounds. And we're going to go back to round 2 once we joined in the round. You remember round 2 of the non-increase rounds at this point after the V-neck shaping. We're going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 again and again. And if I'm to zoom out a little bit, you can see my work spreading out to create the hip coverage. And now we have achieved the measurement that we need in order to cater for our hip circumference. So now I'm going to just go all the way down. You'll see the shape of the dress starting to look flat as opposed to spreading outwards. So from now on, just repeat rounds 2 and 3 of the non-increase rounds, just the plain rounds, until you get your desired dress length. and I'll meet you back when I am done with my dress length, because the complicated part is now finished. I just need to achieve the dress length, and then I'll also let you know how many balls that I ended up using. I'm still on ball number 2, and we shall see how many balls that I end up using eventually. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll meet you back when I achieve the dress length. For now, this is what we have. I don't know if I've taken a photo on this phone. I don't know yet. Okay, so this is what we have. This is how far we've gone. And you can see we are spreading outwards. This was when I was still creating the increases on the side. But now that we are done, we are going to go all the way down, flat, to achieve the dress length. So yeah, you see how beautiful the stitch pattern is? Very cute. So maybe later on I will also make a beautiful bikini, a simple bikini to go on the inside of this beautiful design. Alright guys, I kept doing the non-increase rounds until I got to floor length, and now we are going to go onto the top part and start making our straps for the dress. You're going to try it on and see whether you need to adjust the length of your straps a little bit. If you need to create some length, you can go ahead and make a chain and attach it to the other side. You can play around with the straps a little bit, but for me, this is actually fine. I think I'm going to do something really small when it comes to the top because I don't want this to drop so much. All right, so when it comes to the straps, I'm going to grab my yarn, make a slip knot, and we're going to go onto the top of our piece. Now we have these tails going on here, just ignore them. We shall get rid of them when we are weaving in the ends. You're going to go into this very first space of row 1 of our bra-cups, or the top section of our piece. You're going to go into that space and attach your yarn just like that, and then you're going to make a chain of 3 and double crochet into the same space. Most of you guys know how I create my straps for my pieces. So chain 3 and double crochet into the space below the 2 stitches from the row below, just like that. Chain 3, double crochet into the space between the stitches below. So this is going to kind of elongate the upper part of our piece and also create the strap. So chain 3, double crochet into the space, chain 3 and double crochet into the space in between the 2 stitches below. So this is going to kind of create segments, but also creating thick straps for our piece. So I'm going to do a total of 7, but you can go ahead and make as many segments as you wish for your top. So these are a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 segments. And we're going to attach them into this very first hole on the opposite panel with a slip stitch. So just like that, you're going to make sure your piece is not twisted. So this is what we have. Now you're going to slip stitch into the same space here. You're going to slip stitch 2 times, 1 and 2, and then you're going to turn your work so that you're working on this side of the strap. So you're going to make a chain of 3, and single crochet into the very first segment, just like that. Actually, make sure your piece is not twisted. I don't know how I'm going to do that right now, but I'm going to just turn my work so that I'm working on this side, making sure that the pieces are not twisted. So after your chain of 3, you're going to go into this segment with a single crochet, and then make a chain of 3 and single crochet into the next segment, just like that. Chain 3, single crochet into the next segment. So you can see we're kind of making the strap thicker. Chain 3, single crochet into the next segment of the strap, and you're going to repeat that until you get back to the opposite panel. So we're back here, and I'm going to make a chain of 3 and slip stitch into the first hole of the panel here where we attached our strap. So make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn and then pull through. So if you would like to know the length of my strap, I have about 5 inches, and that is totally fine because this is already thin enough. It's more like the strap is just transitioning and creating increases. So I didn't want to create a very long strap extension so that I really drop this v-neck. So you're going to try it on. You're going to try on your top before you create the straps and figure out the length of your strap, how long the length of your strap should be. This may vary depending on our body types, but for me, I've done a strap of about 5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact process for the opposite side, just like I did for the first side. So we are creating our strap again, and this time it should be a walkover. Before we were just trying to figure it out, but now we know exactly what to do. So just watch me make my second strap the same way that I did the first one. Alright guys, we are done with our second strap. Look how beautiful these straps are. They're really sturdy, they are thick, but also they have some sort of design to them. So we're going to get rid of all these loose ends, find a way of getting rid of the loose ends. You can use a darning needle. You can just make a knot if you wish. For me, I think I'm going to go with the knot wherever I have 2 ends meeting, because this is a lacy pattern and I don't believe that a darning needle will do me justice. So I'm going to just make a knot wherever I find 2 tails meeting at the same point. Maybe a double knot or a triple knot to even make it more secure. So go ahead and do what you have to do to get rid of these loose ends lying around your piece. And this is what you're going to end up with. See how clean it is? And you can see how what I was talking about, the extension, the pattern itself is more like an extension of the strap. So make sure you don't make a very long strap for your piece. So this one only has one tail, and I'm going to use a darning needle and find a way of weaving it into several stitches in order to get rid of it. But make sure it's well secured. Okay. So get rid of all the loose ends on your piece, and we're going to see the final look. Alright everyone, this is what the final look of our dress is like. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to check out the written pattern of this design if you want to further support ShylerCrochets. But all in all, I'm pleased with the final outcome, and let me know in the comment section if you ended up liking this design. Thanks for watching. Bye.